Number 1. Neymar, Barcelona to PSG, 2017 €222 million. One payment, one afternoon, and football's transfer market was never the same again. Paris Saint-Germain didn't negotiate with Barcelona. They simply walked in and paid Neymar's release clause in full. And here's what makes it insane. The previous world record was Paul Pogba at €105 million. PSG didn't break the record. They doubled it. The deal triggered a financial fair play investigation, forced UEFA to rewrite how it valued sponsorship deals, and reset what every club on earth thought a footballer could be worth. Neymar left PSG in 2023 for Saudi Arabia. 9 years later, his record still hasn't been broken. Number 2. Kylian Mbappé, Monaco to PSG, 2018. Same summer, same club. Another €180 million. But PSG had a problem. After Neymar, spending another fortune would have blown up their FFP case. So they got creative. Mbappé arrived in 2017 on a loan, with an obligation to buy the following year. A €180 million transfer, split across 2 accounting periods. He was 19. He won the World Cup within 12 months. By any football measure, one of the best signings ever made. But here's the financial ending. In 2024, Mbappé's contract expired, and he walked to Real Madrid for free. PSG paid €180 million and got zero back. Number 3. Alexander Isak, Newcastle to Liverpool, 2025, £125 million, around €145 million. At the time, the most expensive signing in Premier League history, and a new British record. And this one is a masterclass in trading. Newcastle had signed Isak from Real Sociedad in 2022 for around £63 million. 3 seasons later, they sold him for double. That's the modern Premier League economy in one deal. Clubs aren't just buying players anymore. They're running an asset portfolio. Buy at 60, sell at 125, reinvest the profit before the accounting deadline. Number 4. Morgan Rogers to Aston Villa to Chelsea, 2026. Around £117 million, making Morgan Rogers the most expensive English footballer of all time. And the number behind the number is the real story. Villa had signed Rogers from Middlesbrough in 2024 for a reported £8 million. 8 million to 117. Because under UEFA's settlement agreement, Villa were under pressure to generate revenue. And in the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules, a homegrown player sold is almost pure profit on the books. Chelsea bought a footballer. Villa bought themselves a whole transfer window. Number 5. Elliot Anderson, Nottingham Forest to Manchester City, 2026, £116 million. A club record for Manchester City and the most expensive British player ever, beating the £115 million Real Madrid committed for Jude Bellingham in 2023. But look one step back. Nottingham Forest had bought Anderson from Newcastle in 2024 for a fraction of that fee, and crucially, without a sell-on clause. Newcastle sold him to balance their own books. 2 years later, they watched someone else collect £116 million for the same player. That's the brutal part of football finance nobody puts in the highlight reel. The club that develops a player is often not the club that gets paid. Number 6. João Felix, Benfica to Atletico Madrid, 2019, €126 million for a 19-year-old with one good season. At the time, the 5th most expensive transfer in history. Atletico paid it because they'd just sold Griezmann and had the money burning a hole in their accounts. What followed was 5 years of loans. Chelsea, Barcelona, Milan, before he eventually moved on to Saudi Arabia. Atletico never recovered anywhere close to what they paid. This is the transfer everyone in football finance points to when they explain amortization risk. Spread €126 million across a long contract. And if the player fails, you're still paying for him on the balance sheet for years after he's stopped playing for you. Number 7. Enzo Fernandez, Benfica to Chelsea, 2023, €121 million. A British record at the time, paid on deadline day for a midfielder who had been at Benfica for 6 months. Benfica had signed him from River Plate months earlier for around 10 million euros. 12 times their money in half a season, but Chelsea's side is the interesting one. They handed Enzo an 8.5-year contract, a deliberate accounting move to spread that 121 million euros across as many seasons as possible and keep the annual cost low. It worked so well that FIFA and UEFA changed the rules, capping amortization at 5 years. One transfer, one clause, global rule change. Number 8. Antoine Griezmann, Atletico Madrid to Barcelona, 2019, 120 million euros. Another release clause paid in full. In the same summer, Barcelona were already carrying the biggest wage bill in world sport. He lasted 2 seasons. Then Barcelona loaned him back to Atletico, the club they'd bought him from, because they could no longer afford his salary. This transfer is a key chapter in how Barcelona went from the richest club in football to selling off future television income just to register players. Number 9. Felipe Coutinho, Liverpool to Barcelona, 2018, 118.4 million euros guaranteed, rising towards 160 million euros with add-ons. Coutinho's Barcelona career is remembered as a disaster, but flip the camera around, and this is arguably the greatest piece of business any club has ever done. Liverpool took that money and spent it on Virgil van Dijk and Alisson Becker. 18 months later, they won the Champions League. 12 months after that, the Premier League. Barcelona bought a player. Liverpool bought a defense, a goalkeeper, and a dynasty. Number 10. Jack Grealish, Aston Villa to Manchester City, 2021, £100 million. The first ever 9-figure transfer between 2 British clubs, and around 118 million euros in the record books. He won the treble in 2023, so on trophies, City got exactly what they paid for. But by 2025, he'd fallen out of the side and was loaned to Everton, on wages most clubs couldn't touch. And that's the pattern running through this entire list. 9 of these 10 transfers happened after 2017. After Neymar reset the ceiling, the fees keep climbing, the contracts keep stretching, and the accountants keep finding new ways to make 100 million euros look affordable. The record itself, though, still belongs to one player, and after 9 years, nobody has come close.